Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're diving headfirst into a really strange, fragmented virtual world. And we're going to tackle a huge question. What does suffering even mean when your entire reality, well, when it's just an artificial construct? So let's start with this quote from a character named the Archer. How do you remain alive if you have no point? Wow, that one question, it really just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? It's this raw, desperate plea for meaning in a world that feels like it was specifically designed to have none. All right, Section 1, the glitching prison. So before we can even get into the suffering, we've got to understand the prison, right? Let's try to see the very fabric of this place through the eyes of the people who are actually stuck inside. And our first big clue comes from the Archer again. They straight up call themselves a non-playable character, an NPC, basically a puppet. They're saying, hey, I don't really have free will. And that's a huge moment of self-awareness, right? They can feel this kind of narrative paralysis, knowing they're just powerless pieces in a bigger, scripted game. Okay, but this is where things get really interesting. We meet another character, the astronaut, who takes this whole idea and just runs with it. For them, it's not just that this world is artificial. They see the entire universe as split right down the middle into two totally different realities. So look at this. On one side, you've got what they call objective clockwork. Think of it as the laws of physics, predictable, mechanical, something you can count on. It might be harsh, but at least it's real. But then there's the absolute artifice. This is the world of society, and it's not governed by physics. No, it's run by these cruel, totally arbitrary, and honestly just malevolent rules that seem like they exist for one reason: to make people suffer. Which brings us to Section 2, a pointless purpose. If you're stuck in that absolute artifice, that world of made-up cruelty, how in the world do you find a reason to keep going? It kicks off this really desperate search for meaning, a search that might not even have an answer. Let's look at the captain. He's faced with a system that's literally designed to crush hope and justice. So what does he do? He leans into it. He embraces being powerless. He actually says he's a proud cog. It's like by accepting his small, predetermined role, he finds this weird sort of comfort, almost like a shield against how meaningless everything else feels. And that's really the key here. This isn't just about one character's little crisis. No way. From the Archer to the captain, every single one of them is wrestling with the same huge, haunting questions. Like, is hope just a joke? And what's the point of knowing you're in a cage if you can't get out? These are the questions just echoing all through this virtual abyss. So naturally, that makes you want to zoom out and ask an even bigger question. If being a cog is the best you can hope for, then what is the point of the machine itself? What is this whole system even for? Okay, Section 3, the mandate for cruelty. And, well, the answer to that last question, it's pretty disturbing. We're about to go deeper into the logic of this machine, and we're gonna see that this pointless system doesn't just allow cruelty, it actually seems to demand it. And to understand that, we have to meet the guard. This character, he is the perfect embodiment of this world's cold, predatory logic. For him, the rule of the game is simple. The weakest get ruined. That's just how it goes. Now, this part is absolutely critical. The guard doesn't think what he's doing is wrong. Not at all. He says he was mandated to do it. Think about that. He's saying the system itself, the collective, gave him not just permission, but an order to be this destructive. His cruelty isn't a bug in the system, it's a feature. And there's zero remorse. None. Just elation. Pure joy in destroying things. This just lays it all bare, It exposes the truly malevolent engine at the heart of this reality. It starts to feel like the whole point of the machine is just suffering for suffering's sake. All right, on to Section 4, an eternity in darkness. So we've seen the cruelty from one side, now we have to look at the other. We've met the perpetrator, so now let's switch perspectives to the one who has to live through it all, the victim. And we see this through the eyes of a character called the Kiwi. For them, coming into this world wasn't like a birth, it was a fall. A sudden, violent crash out of some beautiful, simulated sky and landing right in the middle of what they basically call hell. See, for the Kiwi, time doesn't work the way we think it does. It's not a straight line. It's this awful, looping nightmare. There's this tiny, dreamlike memory of flying and being free, and then, boom, the crash into total darkness. And in that void, this liminal beast made out of collectivity whispers these awful things, basically ensuring the torture just repeats itself over and over for what feels like an eternity. And when you put their two stories right next to each other, wow, the conflict just becomes so painfully clear. On one side, you have the guard's cruelty, which he admits is for no reason at all other than hate. But on the other side, for the Kiwi, that pointless hate creates this horrible, sordid existence. It's like a life sentence for a crime that was committed against them before they could even move. So, with all this despair, you have to ask, is there any hope at all? Is there a way out? For that, we have to go back to the astronaut, because they aren't looking for purpose or power. No, they're looking for something way more radical. They're looking for an escape hatch. And the astronaut's hope? It isn't in philosophy, it's in physics. They're actually wondering if it's possible to reverse time inside a black hole. It's a wild idea for sure, but the logic is, if the absolute artifice is so unbearable, maybe the only way out is to use the laws of the real universe, that objective clockwork, to literally hit the undo button on all this damage. And that leaves us with one last big question to chew on. This world, this whole thing, it might just be a construct, right? A virtual abyss running on a set of fake rules. But for the people trapped inside, from the guard who enjoys inflicting pain to the Kiwi who has to endure it forever, that suffering is absolutely 100% real. Which forces us to ask ourselves, if the abyss is artificial, is the suffering any less real?